build a TP.
Yeah. All right. Looks like we're gonna be starting off as a Dutchmere. So, um, wow, I completely lost my train of thought there. All right. So, Marco1698 against the man, the legend, Victor Sui.
Oh yeah. There we go. 3-3 Magic, aka Victor Sui, playing in the color blue as Dutch. Against Marco1698 in red, playing Dutch as well, actually. So, well, I think you should tell me what you think about this matchup, because I don't think I ever played any Dutch mirror in my life, and if I did, it was just probably in quick search making a double axe Skirm Pike Rush, which is definitely not the best way to play it. So, I guess you should tell me what you think about the matchup.
Yeah. So, Dutchmere just tends to be both players trying to get to Fortress. There might be some cav pressure in H2 if they really want, maybe with an 8 Pike shipment, we'll have to see. But I anticipate both players to just try and get to their 5 bank, boom, and then hit Fortress, maybe with 5 Hussars, we'll have to see. For the most part, nothing really happens for Fortress in a Dutchmere unless someone's trying some crazy cheese or something, so I don't anticipate anything too crazy. But then again, we do have a couple of players that aren't known for playing the most standard games, so anything could happen.
Yeah, I think Victor Sui is not a very standard player, so he might just cheese something. There was this very good treasure there, 110 wood. Marco1698 scouted it, but decided to not go for it. Maybe thinking that it's not what he needs in H1 because it doesn't help him age up. Marco is actually overgathering gold right now. I mean, he's going to mine for a 16th villager, which I guess is just too much, especially considering he got a 90 coin, which is going to help him age up faster already. So,
looks like he switched his vills off of coin actually, so not going to be gathering for that 16th vill. Maybe he was just concerned that that Victor would be around when he started that 110 wood, so he wanted to find out where the Explorer was before going for that.
Yeah.
But looks like he's scouting out the enemy's base now, not actually going for that 110 wood. Might be heading back for it now.
Yeah, well, he could actually also just pick this next scout here and try to win the H1 war, basically. I mean, this guy doesn't snare anymore like on RE, but it's still an extra warrior that you can pick up just with a crack shot, basically, and you can still send it on the red explorer and make sure that you always know where red is. Red will have the choice between fighting your native scout, which means that meanwhile you might be able to catch the 110 wood, or just run and try to defend the 110 wood, but then you still know where he is because of that native scout. But anyway, none of these players actually picked it up, even though they scouted it, but red did crack shot one Cougar going away, so it looks like he just wants to work on this treasure and doesn't know that blue is there, and just, you know, just crack shotting and gonna come back. But it's pretty risky. I'm not sure. We will see who gets that treasure.
Yeah, I think maybe he did want to actually kite the treasure, but he just kind of was distracted by something in his base, switching all the bills to wood and getting me to age. Oh, it's going to be close.
Oh.
Okay, Victor ends up getting the treasure. He might lose his Explorer for that, but definitely worth it.
I would take that trade, yeah. And with his envoy and a good micro, he would be able to get away. Also, he's not paying attention, but he could just, you know, attack in mini mode the red Explorer and sneaking his envoy at the same time between the two Explorers to block a little bit, and then could get away pretty easily. Because right now, if he doesn't do something like this, I think he's just gonna die. Because he's very low HP, he's probably gonna die before he can reach his base. If Red does a good job with his envoy, which he is doing actually. Oh,
but he just blocked the Explorer. He might actually... He's probably not going to get away.
He's going to die.
Marco could just
he's
shoot
dead
him,
right now, yeah. Oh.
Either way, I think he's okay with that. I think anyone would take 110 wood for their Explorer.
Yeah, he just got so much more resources right now. He got...
Marco might be okay, though. He has scouted this 150 wood and could start working on it. I don't know if he's going to do that, though.
That's a ton of wood, actually, yeah.
Yeah, it's an insane treasure. Really hard to get, though, at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, but right now,
looks
when
like
the other explorer is
working
dead, he
favors
can
there.
just yeah, he can just take his time to micro this treasure. With a good micro, you can actually take it not so it's not so hard. It takes some time, but you will not lose so much HP. So because he has time, because the other explorer is dead, and even if he comes back to life right now, he will be extremely low HP. He might be able to take that treasure easily. Which would make up for the 110 wood, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Well,
So both players sitting on one bank. We'll have to wait and see if they choose to build a second bank with that 400 wood, or if one of them will decide to open with a military building.
that bank is actually
Both players gathering food, so I think, yeah, we're going to see second bank from both players, it looks like.
oh yeah, yeah. They're not really gathering a lot of gold, but the banks from Victor 3 are actually in a kind of unexpected spot. Especially this one, almost a bit forward. You know, like I'm not sure if 8 pikes could actually siege this bank while being out of TC fire range, but they might. And even the other one in the back is really far. I mean, he's not trying to turtle at all. Unlike Red, who is starting maybe a turtle a bit with his banks, and yeah, with his third bank, he's definitely turtling a little bit. And another bank from, I mean, all the buildings from Victor 3 are extremely far from town center, actually, even the house in H1. It's actually surprising.
Going to be giving him some extra line of sight. That bank in the back is a little bit awkward. It could even maybe be killed by a caravel shipment or something like that.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Marco does not have a caravel shipment, so he shouldn't have to worry about that. Interestingly to note, Marco does not have skirm upgrades in the Colonial Age, and instead has more Industrial Age cards.
Oh, yeah.
So we could actually maybe see some Industrial play in the future. So stable coming down for Victor. Just 5 banks for Marco, so it looks like Marco's just going to be trying to get straight up to Fortress, and Victor will be trying to apply some pressure here.
Damn, that's a fast 5 banks, actually. But yeah, interesting to see also that in Victor 3's deck there is no 1k wood. Okay, I'm taking the deck, it's freezing. Yeah, wait. I actually forgot probably to put a star, but you said something, so it's fine. But yeah, no 1k wood in deck for Victor 3. Which is
yeah, it helps instead. It's interesting.
It's interesting, yeah, questionable, and it's not just hard instead. It's also like he's missing one card in H3 basically, right? I mean, he got the bank upgrade in H4, which you would usually see as 2 heavy cannons because of the church card and stuff. And also he got a lot of cards in H1. I'm not sure about this deck, it's questionable, but anyway, he's raiding right now.
Yeah, Hussar are going to be idling all of these villagers. This is kind of the one advantage you get if you start Hussar, and the other person just opts for banks. You can force a lot of idle time, and kind of compensate for the fact that you're only sitting on 4 banks.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can even force an 8 pike shipment. So we'll have to see if Marco decides to do that. Losing 1 vill, actually.
Yeah. He's losing 1 vill to the drag box of death. The 4 Hussars drag box with the native scout together going at an insane speed.
Yeah,
they managed
one more
to
Hussar
kill
coming, forcing the Minutemen call.
Oh yeah.
Marco just wants to be able to gather resources.
I'm not sure about this Minutemen pop. I guess he didn't have another real choice, but I mean, I guess 8 pikes at this point would have maybe been better. I mean, he would already be aging if he cheated pikes, right? Because he had to spend food on Minutemen. And those Minutemen don't do so good against Gavin. When they pop, the guy can always just go back. When you pop 8 pikes and you catch the Hussars and you might kill a lot of them, now he's gonna lose a villager for this. I'm not quite sure if 8 pikes would have been better, but I think I would have tried to have a good pop. Minutemen are just a bit disappointing against Gav. Look, 2 more villagers dying.
These military buildings are gonna get denied.
Oh my god!
And
yes,
he still doesn't have the food to age. He's sitting on 1,800 coin almost. Okay, just bought some food. Yeah, that's probably a good decision.
Yeah, I mean, these Minutemen were a bit disastrous in my opinion. Like, if he actually called pikes, he would save. He would be able to get 2 barracks and a stable up and not lose those 3 villagers. And also, he wouldn't lose his Minutemen. I mean, this was a pretty bad Minutemen call actually. And I guess Victor's who is just on his way to age up now, just gathering pretty fast. He's making 5 more hussars. That might actually be an over something. I actually don't know what. Over commitment, I guess.
Yeah, but at the same time, Marco doesn't have any military buildings up. He has enough resources for one. Maybe if he finishes that barracks as well. At the very least, this extra batch of hussars is going to force Marco to send Reuters instead of wood. So
yeah, but I mean,
it's going to at least compensate for the fact that Victor doesn't have 1,000 wood of his own, and it'll make it a lot harder for Marco to get that infrastructure up as well.
But I think it's still risky because he might just get shot by these Reuters. Like, he's going on the wrong side now. He's not really going away, and the Reuters might pop any second and just kill a lot of hussars. I'm not actually sure. Like, yeah, look at this now. I mean, he can just chase. Oh, why did he go back? That's okay. Well, he doesn't really chase actually, but he could have been chasing the hussars and killed maybe like 5 of them because the Reuters are just faster than the hussars. And
either way, though, he can still apply some counter pressure here. There was a couple of exposed villagers outside of the base.
Yeah.
So he has a small window where he can actually try to do some damage.
But it does look good for Victor Swiss. Yeah, he was able to age up pretty fast. My point was that he would have aged up even faster. He would have aged up almost at the same time as Marco if he didn't make that extra batch, and would have been able to have 8 scums maybe right now on the field or something and keep pressuring actually. But he's still in a good spot, I would say. He killed a lot of villagers, I think. 5 villagers lost for Marco, yeah, that's a lot. Forced the Minutemen out and destroyed some military foundations. And idled a lot also. Marco is stacking really, 2k
really
gold.
Pressure from Victor.
Yeah. 2k gold for Marco right now. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe you're gonna ship that church card and get those trade yachts out, but or maybe ship the 6 hacker.
Looks like he was just housed for a while, and his HUDs aren't in the greatest position, so he's kind of just been forced to gather only gold for the last minute or so here.
Yeah, but I mean, still 9 vills on gold. At this point, you could even go on berries here. I mean, it would still be better than floating all this coin. I'm not quite sure about what's going on there. I mean, or then he can maybe just ship the 6 hacker pearls. Like, if he got them in deck, it means he... Or even the 12 Swiss spikes. If he got them in deck, it means he considers shipping them. So it would make sense when you stack so much gold to ship them, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely an option.
Also, I'm not a fan of these shipments when you're not Germany, right? When you don't get these sweet extra mercenaries from your shipment. I don't see the 6 hacker pearls being a big threat. They drop really fast to some Reuter mass, so probably not the best choice.
Mercenaries can be awkward at times, but maybe as Dutch it kind of makes sense to have mercenaries in your deck. Because sometimes, as we just saw, you're kind of forced to stay in your town center, and the only thing you're going to be gathering is gold from your banks. And so sometimes having that shipment that you can actually dump that gold into can be pretty nice.
Yeah, this is true, but at the same time, when it's a mirror, I don't think you should expect to be in this kind of situation, because you should expect to be like at the same level like your opponent, you know, and not especially pressured because it is a mirror. So I think this is an all-around deck. But maybe in a tournament you should prepare with a deck. I mean, when you see that it's a mirror, maybe you should remove these shipments. But I mean, it's not like they are top players also or something. So of course you can't expect Marco and Victor Sweet to get the perfect deck and everything, you know. But just saying, like, I'm not sure in this matchup that Swiss Spikes or Strangers are very interesting. We will see. He basically has no eco cards, by the way, if the game goes longer. Because of this mercenaries, he doesn't have the refrigeration and royal means that Victor Sui has in deck.
Yeah, well, just looking at his deck, it looks like maybe he had intended to go to industrial, and then he was just kind of forced, like, to have to make units in Fortress by this pressure.
Yeah.
So, Victor doing a good job of keeping the game under control, sort of.
Yeah.
The early pressure forces Marco to play by his rules.
But I need to say, Marco actually still like did a good job at spending his resources. I didn't check if he did buy some food, which would be a bit awkward, but somehow his gold mass disappeared. Like he still got rid of this extra gold. The blue hussars are not upgraded, which is a bit concerning.
Yeah, this is actually looking like a pretty decent position for Marco. Yeah. He's getting a pretty good trade despite having quite a few less units. It's still going to go well for Victor just because he has more stuff overall, but I don't think it's the worst trade in the world.
I think Marco is going to come basically on top. Like, he just got more skirms. The hussars were passing around this patch of streets there forever, and because they are H2, they also drop faster because they have less HP, so in the end it was a pretty decent trade.
Yeah, good positioning from Marco there.
Also, he's still behind in score because he got less eco, and he did fight with less units, which means that he still has less units. Just maybe got a bit more skirms. Yeah, he got like 7 more skirms, which is what you want in this matchup, I guess, to have the skirm advantage, resulting in him being able to actually pressure the hunts of Victor Sui. Oh, he's actually going back, which I'm not sure about. He could just pressure this. There's so many villagers on this one animal.
Yeah, maybe scared of some more Hussar. Victor did make quite a few. It wouldn't be surprising to see more.
Yeah, but they're not upgraded, so...
He doesn't have a lot of anti-cav either, so
yeah,
can't fault him too much for that.
I guess 10 Reuters can still one-shoot or run one H2, I mean Hussar, but... Yeah, I guess it's okay. I'm not sure about fighting then, if he's afraid, like he shouldn't fight this and...
It looks like he's overstaying a bit. A skirmisher is walking in.
Oh yeah, that's painful actually. He's blowing his lead right now and he's behind in the scum count now, and there's just so many units coming out. Or yeah, it's a 9 Ritter shipment. This was a while ago actually. I don't know, I feel like there was a big pop of blue units. It's maybe just Minutemen. I don't know, but...
No, yeah, he got a batch of Reuters, a couple batches of skirmishers and Minutemen all in that fight. So
yeah, and now he's just
Marco overstaying just a tad there, and now skirmisher combat coming in for Victor Sui. It's gonna put him in a pretty good position with the superior skirm mass already.
Yeah.
Second stable going down for Marco, so he might be sort of realizing that he's behind in skirm count now, and he is maybe going to try to do some kind of Hussar switch to compensate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's something I say a lot also that, I mean, if you're behind in the scum count, especially in the mirror, you might not be able to just come back in the scum count, so you might as well just prepare a cav switch to surprise your opponent, and it's kind of the only way to win, right? Because how are you going to kill more skirms with less skirms? Basically, you need some cav.
Yeah, it looks like that's exactly what he's doing. He's got Hussars in queue. He just shipped 1,000 food. So he's going to be trying to produce from 2 stables for a little while here.
I like it, yeah. I think it's a good decision. But after this 1k food crates, I would like him to timing with cav combat probably. If he wants to do a really big Hussar switch, like pop maybe 2 batches of Hussars, like 20 Huss from these 2 stables and ship cav combat. Try to switch the game in his favor.
Yeah, for sure.
I hope he's not gonna fight with 10 Huss or yeah, this is 10 Huss. I don't think it's enough.
Yeah, well, either way, Hussar coming in from the back, trying to get a flank.
Yeah.
He's trying to pick off the Reuters. He does not have more Hussar in queue, just queued them, so there's not going to be any more Hussar until after this fight.
And this comes, I still have like infantry combat, so they're pretty strong, and they just killing the Ritters so fast, and there's still a decent amount of Ritters for blue left, ready to defend a potential additional cav, batch cav, I can't speak anymore, my god, too much pressure. Batch of cav, yes. So now, well, it's just really bad for red, basically, to make it short. He's just so far behind in military. I would have really liked him to mass more cav. I mean, why would you drop another stable just to pop only 10 cav, like one batch?
Yeah, 10 more Hussar popping.
Yeah, but still so many raiders left, and the carded skirmishers are not so bad either in the end. Oh, well,
yeah, it's looking like a decent trade for Marco though.
Oh, but he's actually calling the GG.
But Marco just going to call it. Yeah, a little bit impatient with his first 10 Hussar there.
Yeah.
If he had just waited and kept them hidden, maybe he would have been able to sort of catch Victor off guard, but
yeah, exactly.
opting to try and just force the fight and not working out for him.
Yeah, yeah. Half of the job of a cav switch is to surprise. It's nice to switch to cav to counter the skirmishers, but if you don't surprise your opponent, if you bring only 10 of them and it's not enough to be a big surprise, well, it's most likely just not gonna work. The thing is that in a skirm gun war, usually both players tend to be as greedy as possible and make as many skirms as possible and get away with it, because the skirm is just basically the best unit in the skirm gun war. And when you make more skirms and you are able to win the skirm war, then you can expect a cav switch to come. That's why you have some goons. But if the cav switch is not big enough, it's not gonna work. And here we can see he just basically lost even more. By going cav, he lost even more units because there was just not enough of these melee units and they just melted pretty fast, and then it was game over basically.
Yeah,
so, well,
either way, good job by Victor punishing the super greedy build from Marco early on. And it kind of made up for the fact that later on he didn't have to play perfectly to win. Like, he got that sort of bad fight in early Fortress, but he still had more eco, he still had roughly the same military. He just had to like sort of wait and let his extra eco kind of carry him to victory.
Yeah, and the fact that he was able to age up roughly 1 minute after Marco with like maybe 15 Hussars in H2, I think. Sorry, I think he made like 4 batches of Hussars, which would be around maybe 15 Huss. And still aging up only 1 minute later with more eco because he killed like 5 villagers. Just let him win basically. There was just so much idle time on the red side. He didn't make any units and still aged up after 9 minutes, which is pretty late, just because he was idle all the time by this mass of Hussars. Could have maybe just shipped 8 packs, yeah. So
we're going to be jumping into the next game here on Florida.
Yeah.
Victor does have to pick first, but he is currently AFK, so it looks like we have a couple of minutes to fill.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess we can speculate and talk about what civs they are going to play on this map. I mean, we can't really know which civ Marco is gonna pick because obviously he's going to counter pick, but we can maybe try to figure out what civ Victor 3 might play. Do you have any idea actually of the civ pool of Victor 3?
I don't know for sure. I think he plays most civs. I think one of the civs he's more comfortable with is something like British though, and I would anticipate that he would like to pick them here. This is a pretty good map for Brit with the early market. Means that you can get 2 or 3 manners up in age 1, still grab hunting dogs, and then you also have your gang saw for transition to fuel your manor boom. At the same time, there's also a lot of Huttonson base and relatively safe gold mines behind your base, so it's a pretty good map for Brit. And I wouldn't be surprised if he tried to pick something like that.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty good map for Brits as well. Just there's a lot of food in your base, and yeah, what you mentioned, and you can kind of go maybe for 1 dock boom on EP just because it's so much easier to go for a small boom, let's say. Before you kind of had to make like no fishing boats at all, or then ship schooners, which is quite an investment, and go really heavy on water. And now you can kind of just slip 1 dock in and just make a few fishing boats, like 10 or 15 of them, and maybe you can do something with that. And I think Brits would be one of the civilizations which would be comfortable with doing this kind of stuff, just because they do have quite a nice eco to begin with to fuel this this fishing boat production. Not like, for example, Russia, who would have a hard time kind of to afford making fishing boats. Like Brits would just be quite comfortable with this, I think. Also, they need food. An option. Yeah.
I would like to see someone try something like this. I feel like there's a lot more options now to add that dock, and no one as of yet has really tried to make it work.
Yeah.
So it'd be cool if we could see it. So yeah, it looks like Victor does pick Brit, and Opto or
oh wow,
looks like Marco is just gonna opt to mirror him again.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's not the most exciting matchup in my opinion, but well, we will see what's up. Maybe we have a kind of dog play. This would for sure be much different from the standard Brit mirror. But yeah, about what you said, that no one really tried to sneak in that dog build order. I need to say, I must admit that I'm myself pretty lazy on this point, and I was thinking that with Germany or France you could have some room for this kind of boom. But I never tried because I'm just so lazy to try a new build order, you know? Like, I should be probably working on this.
It's always awkward. It's always awkward to try a new build and then get really hard punished for it when you mess up.
Especially.
It's like I could just play and probably win with the normal build, or I could try something new that might be good, but I probably won't get it right the first time, so I'm just gonna not do it.
Yeah, especially when it's a C where you're already comfortable with, you know. It's not like if you play your third or fourth best civ, you might just try to cheese a bit like this, but when you play your best civ, which you are very comfortable with the standard builds, you don't really want to learn something new, you know, and potentially just screw up. Especially I remember, you know, when I played Lord Raphael and I went for this Comanchero semi-FF that we kind of practiced together, then I was just like regretting it, that I could have done much better if I just played standard, you know, and I was like, yeah, why did I even try to do something weird, you know? But anyway, we have the game starting now, and it's a Brit mirror on Florida. We have on top of the map 3 Magic, aka Victor 3 in the color blue, playing Brits against another Brit player, Marco1698, on the bottom of the map in the color red. We have that coin starts along with the free market that just always spawn on Florida unless you're very unlucky and it doesn't spawn for you, but this time it did spawn, so everything fine. The coin crate, pretty interesting for a market. Obviously you might just be able to get that very early hunt dogs.
Yeah, it looks like Victor is opting to just leave his coin crate on the ground, so probably not going to see any sort of resource trading or early hunting dogs from him.
He already got hunt dogs, actually. I think he just got
he already has hunting dogs, okay.
Yeah, he just was pretty smart and picked up a 40 coin treasure and gathered only 20 coin of his coin crate just to get enough for his hunt dogs. On the other hand, Marco didn't get any of this coin and didn't get a hunt dogs, which I dislike very much, because, I mean, let's face it, why would you not just gather this 60 gold from your gold crate along with the 95 wood he's already banking anyway, and that he's not going to use apparently because he's not chopping anything for an extra mana, for example. So he could just use this wood and this gold for hunt dogs, and in the end he would even age up faster. So that's pretty much a mistake. Maybe a little bit
of an oversight from Marco, just trying to play with the normal sort of Brit start and didn't really consider the extra market that you usually get on this map.
Yeah, you need to adapt to the map on this point. The extra market is a feature of Florida, which you don't see in many maps. You can have it on Saguenay, on RE, where you get that free market. You have it on Silk Road as well. But on ESOC maps, it's pretty much only on Florida that you get the market, and you just need to maybe practice it a bit. I see a lot of players who omit this market and don't use it in H1 when they actually could, and well, it's always a bit disappointing, but not very surprising, to be honest, because I see it a lot. So let's not blame Marco too hard, because God knows that a lot of players before him forgot to get that hunt dogs on Florida.
Yeah, either way, as long as it doesn't delay his age up, it's not going to be that bad.
Yeah, well, he is actually eating 2 sheep. That's also maybe overreaction. I don't think he needed to eat 2 sheep to age up in time. I'm not sure. Well, they age up pretty much at the same time. You know, that's just extra hand dogs, right? He did. Victor Sweet didn't need to eat sheep, and he just aged up at the same time just because of hand dogs. So yeah, a little bit of an advantage there for Victor Sweet, but nothing huge. I mean, it's not like when you eat 2 sheep, it's game over or something. It's just a little advantage, but
yeah, for sure.
yeah, four
Either
sheep
way,
for
both
Victor
players.
Sweet now. Yep.
Sorry. Either way, both players are starting their market or so their mana boom now. Marco does finally add in hunting dogs. Neither player adding in gang saw just yet, but hopefully we will see something from them soon. Looks like there's still some treasure contentions. Marco did manage to steal away that 100 food from Victor. He might lose his Explorer for it, but definitely worth it. And a forward Vil coming from Victor and from Marco. So we're going to see the normal sort of Brit Mirror start with both players FB, and probably muskets will be the main unit of choice.
Yeah. That's expected. Marco just sending 2 forward villagers, maybe just forgot to build that forward manor house. You usually build it forward because, well, basically when you build your manor forward, it means that you just walk only 1 villager, and the other villager will be popped in your manor, which means that there's no walking time for this villager. That's a little bit maybe of a mistake from Marco, but again, not a very big deal. I was just checking the decks fast. No water cards for any of these players, so indeed I think we will have a very standard Brit Mirror there. Also, again, on this patch you don't really need to have any water card, you don't even need schooners to make fishing boats. So God only knows what can happen, but right now it looks just very standard.
Yeah, basically both military buildings and outposts are going to be right on top of each other, so any muskets that pop from these buildings are going to take at least 1 outpost shot.
Yeah.
So that's nice for both players. Marco did lose his Explorer. It might be a little bit of a disadvantage in the early Musk trades, but shouldn't be anything too big, especially since Victor doesn't have a lot of HP on that Explorer.
Yeah, and might lose it to a pirate. No, I think he will run away, but working on 135 coin, which is, well, a pretty nice treasure. Marco actually being able to siege maybe a little bit too much forward house. This house does bring some line of sight, but it will also give some XP when it goes down to Marco. At least he's able to do something with his musketeers. While
yeah, it is going to spot the second Rax though before it comes up. I think Victor's second Rax is in vision of the outpost, but I'm not entirely sure. But either way, it's still good to have vision of that.
Yeah, I think actually the second Rax of Victor is indeed in vision of the tower of Marco, but the other one, I mean the Rax of Marco is probably out of line of sight actually. It's but I think anyway both players expect a double Rax coming in at some point. It can change, you can have it from 700 wood, you can have it from 600 wood, depending on the build orders. But it's not, I mean, in the end you just expect the other guy to mass musketeers, right? It's not like, oh wow, what are these musketeers doing? They were just lagging so hard around the barracks there. Oh, 6 musketeers.
Yeah, 6 muskets.
Oh, but
so
a
Marco's
big batch.
Try and push this.
Big batch of musketeers coming. Oh my god, and those red musketeers are walking. Oh, this is not the best engagement for red. I mean, he has more units, but he just walks them a bit too much. I don't know if his
and
attack
the
was
tanking too. I think Victor might be fine here.
Yeah,
actually, it's going to be really close.
He's a bit behind.
Looks like it's going to be. Looks like Marco's getting the better trade for the moment, but probably not going to have enough units to actually take down these military buildings.
Yeah,
at the end of it. The second batch coming out from behind. Nothing yet from Marco.
They are fighting under the blue barracks and under the blue tower, so
yeah,
red
only
does
6,
need to take
and
care.
only 6 more muskets coming from Marco. So, yeah, it looked like it was a good timing, but just Not the best execution from Marco there.
Yeah.
And 6 muskets actually coming from Victor as well.
Yeah.
So 700 food from Marco to try and produce more muskets. Interestingly enough, neither player is opting to send 600 wood, but Victor is up those 5 villagers. So he does have a slight advantage for the moment. He might have to push pretty soon, though, because he's not going to have the houses to keep producing muskets pretty soon.
Yeah. About these 5 villagers, I was thinking that Marco might be slightly ahead in eco. I mean, he would be anyway down in eco because he didn't ship those 5 villas, but let's say that he could be potentially ahead in eco after shipping 5 villas himself, because he killed 2 villagers of Victor 3, but it looks like he skipped some villagers himself because I mean, he's 5 villas behind, right? He's not 3 villas behind. He should be 3 villas behind because he killed 2 villas. So I think he just skipped villas.
Yeah, he might have been skipping some bills to try and get out those extra units in that batch.
Yeah,
try and punish his forward base, but
oh wow,
those
6
longbows, really good timing there. Muskets walking in to Victor's muskets again from Marco.
Yeah, this looks like a really good fight for blue. The red tower basically can only shoot at the longbowmen, and those units are not the most valuable, and they also have that 30% range resist. So blue just taking this fight, yeah. So it's now.
Yeah, so
I forgot to update the score, but it's 2-0, right?
Victor takes the series, yeah. Wow, that's unfortunate for Marco. It looked like such a good timing, but solid defense from Victor and a really good 6 longbow shipment at the end seals the deal.
Yeah. Wow, that was actually a pretty fast series. I mean, the previous series was really long, but this was surprisingly fast.
Both games pretty short.
Yeah, so I guess Marco just didn't have the best execution there. I mean, we can see in the graphs that he had more musketeers and ended up at the end of the first fight with still a bit more musketeers, but the gap was not so big anymore. Like, the gap was at first a gap of 6 musketeers, and at the end was only a gap of 3 musketeers. So this 6 musketeers shipment didn't do the best. And in the villager graph, you can see that blue was always ahead in economy. So always ahead in economy and very fast ahead in military again after he shipped himself 6 musketeers. And then red just took a very bad fight. It was not necessarily game over at this point, but he just decided to take that fight, and it was not a good fight to take. At this point he could have probably tried instead to just raid a bit with his musketeers and come back in the game this way, but he wasted his mass, I think.
Yeah, it was a good try from Marco with that first 6 musk shipment, but
well, was still a close
not
game.
Working out, sadly.
Was a fast
could
game.
have gone either way.
Yeah.
It just came down to the player that played better in that one fight.
Yeah, that's kind of the story of the Breed Mirror, right? It's not like you're gonna have a build order win usually. It's pretty much musketeer fights, and who is gonna have
down to the small trades, the musk fights for the most part.
But to be fair, there is a build order problem still for. I'm just noticing now that Marco shipped. I mean, I know that he shipped 700 food, but I'm noticing that he is stacking a lot of food actually, 600 food. So this 700 food that he shipped did not really pay off compared to that 6 longbow shipment, which was a very good timing. So yeah, that maybe put him a little bit behind, but well, anyway, GG and congratulations to Victor 3. Should probably go out of